got a minute. Call this July 2nd Hoover City Council meeting to order. Welcome everybody that's here and welcome to everybody watching on YouTube at home. So you come up to the dais, speak clearly into the microphone because my wife says she can't hear half of what we say. So I do what my wife said. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Here.
Mr. Lyda? Dr. Middlebrooks?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Posey?
Here.
Mr. Shaw?
Here.
And Mr. Smith?
Here. If the clerk would please provide the invocation and Mr. Posey the pledge. Everyone please stand.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for giving us this day. As we look to celebrate Independence Day, we are mindful and grateful for the wisdom and courage of our forefathers. It was their deep faith and trust in you that inspired them. We pray for all those who have followed in their footsteps to protect the rights and freedoms we enjoy today. We ask your protection during the many celebrations that will take place this week and for the safe return of all those who are traveling during this time. In your name we pray. Amen.
Salute and flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll take a motion on the approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, I move for the approval of the minutes without reading.
Second. Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. The ayes have it. Now we've got the reports section. First, we're going to have a certificate of appreciation from Mr. Bob Brown. Mr. Brown, you here tonight? Come on down. Mr. Green's going to come with you, and the mayor, and we're going to start doing something that should have been going on for many, many years, and that's to start visibly appreciating those as they roll off our different boards, divisions, and committees for the time and work that they put in. Green.
Tonight, it is my honor to recognize Mr. Bob Brown. Bob has served the city of Hoover with distinction as a member of the Board of Zoning Adjustment from July 2016 through May 2018. Bob's thoughtful and fair consideration of each request brought before the board and his diligence in meeting the legal standards and regulations have proven him to be a valuable asset to the BZA during his tenure. It is the willingness of citizens like Bob Brown to commit their time, experience, and leadership to the good of our city that helps keep Hoover running smoothly and moving forward with success. On behalf of the Mayor and the City Council, I present you with this certificate of appreciation for your service to the City of Hoover. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Rick Pate, a candidate for the position of Agricultural Commissioner, State of Alabama. Welcome, Mr. Pate.
Well, it's good to be here, and I just want to thank Jefferson County. We got over 50% of the vote in the primary, running against 3 opponents. But just briefly, I'm from Lowndes County. I have an ag degree from Auburn. I have a degree in ornamental horticulture. I have 50 head of cattle. I have been really working hard for this, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've gotten to know Mike and actually John at different meetings, but appreciate everything. And I actually am the mayor of the town of Lounsboro. I have been for 13 years, and so I'm familiar with doing this. And I'm missing my council meeting, so I might not stay for all of yours.
Well, if you want, you can take the seat by our mayor over here. He's only been here a couple of years, maybe you could help him out.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, we're gonna have employee recognition, Mr. Mayor.
We got outstanding employees in our city, and they do so much for us. And we've got outstanding leadership in our city, in our various departments. And one in particular is Jim Wyatt. Jim, come up. Jim came to us, I guess you came right before I got here. I want to say you've been here about 2.5 years. Came to us from Homewood via Birmingham as a building official. And he brought just a tremendous amount of knowledge with him that he gathered downtown. That was a great training ground for you, I'm sure. And then moved on to Homewood. And Mr. Payton was wise enough to bring you on board as our building official when we had a retirement here. And I can just tell you that not only is he an outstanding building official, but one of the things on his mind each and every day is how to help our businesses, help our home builders, anyone that comes through that office, to make it very smooth, a very easy process, very customer friendly. And he's wise and knows how to do those things and to help not only the city, but to help that person that's trying to do work with our city. And so we're grateful to have an individual like him on staff here. And he was just recently recognized by the code officials of Alabama. So that's all the building officials in every town and cities throughout Alabama. And he was given the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is their most notable and tremendously great award that you so much deserve, and we're very proud that we have you in Hoover, Alabama. Congratulations. Something in front of you, I'd like for you, each and every one of you to put that on. Good. I have the pleasure of knowing Ms. Allison Allred. Allison, come up if you would with your dad, Bill Armstead, and her husband, John, our former senator. That's exactly right. Allison, you come over by me for a second, if you would. Allison was an Auburn student not too long ago, but she, along with about 29 other students at Auburn, in the last, 5 years, 10 years, how long has that been going on?
Well, I was diagnosed in 2001,
So 17 years ago, they all had this unique cancer develop called ocular melanoma. And she is on the forefront of trying to address this disease, trying to raise funds for research. She is a Hoover mom and wife, and they live, their kids all went to Spain Park. Now they are, and we have an Auburn graduate, or Auburn senior, right? And a sophomore at Troy. But I just wanted to, Allison came by and said, you know, we're trying to have awareness for this disease, because it's not one that you see every day. And asked me would I take the eye patch challenge, which I did. And I said, you know, you need to come before our city council and just tell us about this so we can hear your story and see if there's any way that we can help you. So please allow Allison a few minutes to speak about this.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all having me. I got it in the right spot. I really appreciate y'all having me today and let me come talk about this. He's right, I was diagnosed in 2001 with ocular melanoma, which is a very rare cancer. Only 5 people in a million normally get this cancer. But as of now, we have about 3 dozen who have been diagnosed that are graduates from Auburn University that lived both on and off campus. We were there at different times, but the way we came to find this out is I was seeing a doctor in Philadelphia for a treatment, and I told her that I had 2 friends with this rare disease, and they just were stunned and said that should not be, this disease is so rare, you should not have 2 friends that graduated from Auburn University that you know with this rare disease. So they began to do some research and figure out that it does seem as if it's some sort of cluster. They have not scientifically labeled it as a cancer cluster, but we have about 3 dozen now, and most of those people were there anywhere from the years between 1985 and 2000. Julie Green was diagnosed a year before I was in 1999, and I was diagnosed in 2001, and then there have been 34 others since then. So we have been trying to come about a way to raise funding for this research. We need to start in Auburn to figure out what could be the possible cause or link that could be there in Auburn, because that's such a high number of people to come from one university to have this rare cancer. So we decided to do something kind of like ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, but it's called the Ocular Melanoma Eye Patch Challenge. And what you do is you wear your eye patch for your town hall meeting or your mayor duties or your job or just out and about around town, and you take a picture or a short video of yourself doing something in your eye patch, post it on social media, and challenge 3 to 5 other people or groups of people to do the same. And the key is to donate. So you can go to our website, which is www.eyepatchchallenge.org, and learn more about our stories, about ocular melanoma, and then you can donate there as well. We need to raise $135,000 to even begin the research at Auburn, and right now we've raised about 1/10 of that. And we started our fundraising on National Eye Patch Day, which was May 19th. So it's been going on about a month, a little over a month. So we have a long way to go, but I know that we'd all be real appreciative for any donations we can get. As soon as we get the money in, we have a task force set and ready to start the research. And that includes some doctors in Philadelphia who've been working with several of us on different trials and treatments. Also, Dr. John Mason, who's the ocular oncologist here in town. He's the only ocular oncologist in Alabama. He's going to be heading it up. So we have everything in place, ready to go as soon as the funding comes in. So we're really desperate for the funding. If any of you happen to know any else, other places we can get a grant, save or something like this, we need $135,000, and we've got 10%. So as far as my story goes, God has just been real faithful to just heal me all along my journey. It's been almost 17 years now since I was diagnosed, and I've had it come back to many, many places, maybe 15 now. The first few years, they were able to do surgery and treatments that helped it, but right now I'm actually waiting for a phase 1 trial that's at UAB Hospital, and I have some places in my brain that have been radiated. So we're waiting to get an MRI to see if those are stable, and I'll be able to do this phase 1 trial at UAB and hope that that will help, but there's really not a known cure for this. So we're desperate for the funding because our doctor, Kami Sato in Philadelphia, said if we can find the cause, he can find a cure in 5 years. So the sooner we can get the funding, the better. So I just appreciate y'all allowing me to come and be here and get the word out on this, and anyone else that you know that would be interested. We'd love to have the more people taking the challenge, the better. And again, you can go to our website, which is eyepatchchallenge.org, to learn more about this.
Ms. Aldridge, I seem to remember, this is such a terrible thing to have those kinds of numbers. You received some national exposure tonight.
We did.
What show was that?
We were on the CBS This Morning show, and then on the Today Show, and NBC Nightly News, and most recently have been interviewed by People Magazine. But that article will come out next month. So hopefully that will help.
Best wishes and prayers for you, your friends, and for your efforts in raising these funds.
Thank you so
I
much.
know we'll find a few dollars out of our house already.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all letting me be here. Thank you.
If I can say something real quick. I've known John and Bill and Allison. I've known John longest of any. We went to church and high school together, so we won't talk about that. But both these families have experienced a lot of adversity, and I don't know many who responded to that adversity with such a strong Christian testimony, with such a positive response to make a difference, a positive difference in the adversity you experienced. So thank you very much for that example, and thank you for what you're doing and how you've responded to this. And I hope you're successful in raising the funds so that there can be some positive change to come out of this. So thank you.
So much. Thank you.
All right. Now we're gonna take care of our business. Resolution 583318, Mr. Corley.
This resolution declares the following properties as public nuisances due to weeds and/or grass: 700 Flag Circle, 2242 McGuire Drive, 2217 Travis Drive, in order to the abatement thereof as provided under Alabama.
Mr. President, I move for the approval of resolution number 583318.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Mack, you got any updates?
No, sir, these photos that y'all have were taken today. They all do need to be taken care of. The other four were cut by the owners, so that's good on that.
Very good. Any comments or questions for Mr. Mack? Any from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next is resolution 583418, Mr. Corley.
This resolution authorizes Mayor Frank V. Mercado to execute a construction agreement with AlDOT for resurfacing and intersection improvements on Stadium Trace Parkway at Brock's Gap and Learning Lane.
Mr. President, I move for the approval of resolution number 583418.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is this, Tim? Very good. Is there anything particular you'd like to say?
This is a revised agreement where we went and actually acquired some additional federal funding for the project. We opened the bids, they awarded the bids. Once they receive the funding from us, our matching funds, then they'll start the project.
There's a new shopping center being built in the corner. Is this gonna be completed before that is, or are they gonna tear this up after you put it down?
No, both projects are coordinated together. The engineering has been done in conjunction with the other, so shouldn't be any issues.
Any other questions for Mr. Wesco?
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. Weston, what is our match on this project?
about $431,000.
Budget and funds.
It is, yes, sir.
Anything else from the council?
What's the lead time?
Yes, sir.
Start to finish, not including the bid process when we award
Uh,
construction time.
Once they started, about 9 months is what I understand. They're doing the contract about 9 months.
Anything else from the council? Anything from the audience? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next, we have the second reading of ordinance 18-2386. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance rearranges, alters, and extends the city's corporate limits to include 3/10 acres of vacant residential property located adjacent to 4909 Cochat Trail, owned by Craig and Kim Philpott.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 18-2386.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any conversation or comments from the council? Any from the audience?
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
That's that's Cochat Drive. That's the wrong address.
Cochat Drive,
Not Cochat Trail.
okay, is the ordinance properly?
That's correct. It's attached, it's a map and the description.
Okay, so the ordinance itself is appropriate.
That's correct.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Anything else from the audience? Nothing else from the council? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye. The ordinance is adopted. Next item is first reading of ordinance 2363. Forley.
This ordinance amends the municipal code of the city of Hoover to provide that the city may remove inoperable vehicles from private property under certain circumstances.
All right, second reading and possible adoption would be Monday, July 16th. Any comments or questions on this? Anything from the audience? Very good. Next item is first reading of ordinance 18-2391. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance amends the municipal code of the city of Hoover to provide additional stormwater fees to the city as allowed by Alabama law and to set forth the city's stormwater program.
This again would be second reading and consideration for adoption on July 16th. What this does is change by $5 the stormwater fee that the certain city currently obtains. It's going from $5 to $10. Commercial properties, I think they have a cap of $3,000. Mr. Westover, do you want to talk any about the federal guidelines that the city is undertaking that's causing us to need these funds?
Yes, sir. Mr. Smith, actually, there's multiple reasons why we're requesting the funding increase. One is to bring us in line with state law. Our funding mechanism right now does not comply with state law, so by doing this, we're bringing ourselves into compliance with state law. Additionally, our new stormwater permit is requiring additional work. There is a post-construction stormwater ordinance that we will have to be implementing as being required as a new federal requirement on us.
Very good. Any comments or questions from the council? All right, moving on, first reading of ordinance 18-2392. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance amends the municipal code of the city of Hoover to provide for tent sales and tent usage under certain circumstances as set forth in the ordinance.
This too will have a second reading and consideration for adoption on Monday, July 16th. What this ordinance does is going to allow for tent sales of, I think many of you have become aware of the various areas of town that have street fairs. Ross Ridge does, Green Valley area does, Star Lake, which is one we dealt with in Texas before. Park, in front of on the shoestring, I believe, and others, and I'm sure others will come online as well. Next item is first reading of ordinance 18-2393.
This ordinance amends the municipal code of the city of Hoover to provide for the licensing of special events to be held on public property.
And this would also include those same items. Consideration, second reading and consideration for adoption will again be Monday, July 16th. Before we have the first reading of ordinance 18-2394, I think we need some discussion. I think we may have some adjustments that need to be made prior to the first reading, so if there's any changes that can be done in the first reading and not create the need to do this all over again. Mr. Mayor, you want to kick us off?
You know, we have been meeting with the lodging industry over the last 5 or 6 days to address, we originally offered up a 3% increase in our lodging tax. And so after we met with the leaders here in town, we came to talk about how that would impact their overall operation. It would make us less competitive. And so we started talking about adding a bed fee or just a fee rather than a tax. We came up with a fee that they felt would keep them very competitive, not only in the metro area, but throughout the southeast as well, and that fee was $2 per night. And so we had some discussion, a couple of councilmen were in that meeting. We continued talks, we talked Thursday night about it. We talked about raising it to $2.50, and they agreed to that, but I think they felt like in that $2.50 that we could do away with any commitments that they already had in place. And we found that to be very difficult, and some of them made commitments 3 years out and made significant commitments on some very large deals in the millions. And to go back to these folks that they made commitments to and raise the fee that they were going to have to pay, they felt could, in fact, give these folks an opportunity to pull out. So after talking with them today, Mr. Murphy came, set up a meeting with them today, and we had further discussions about it. I'll let them explain it if they like, but it would be my recommendation after talking with them today to keep it at that $2 fee, and that will keep us, our hotels, very competitive, still the lowest in the metro area, and it will keep us competitive with the southeast, which we actually compete with. So with that, I will be available for any questions.
Prior to the first reading, are there any questions or comments from the council?
Mr. President, can I ask a question? Probably not to the best. How does this amendment down to $2 affect the overall revenue, projected revenue that would be generated should this be passed?
So if I think the question is, if we go from the $2.50 back to the $2, it's my understanding the $2.50 would have brought basically an additional $300,000. So it would reduce back down to, the $300,000 back down to $1.2 million estimated.
Thank you.
Anything else from the council? Anything from industry? Anything from us?
Matt Sterling. I'm the general manager of the Hyatt Regency Birmingham, the Winfrey Hotel. As the mayor mentioned, we did have a meeting today, and we discussed the flat fee of being $2. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the mayor and the city council members who took time out of their day, out of their week, to come up with a mutual agreement that I think we can all agree on. As a citizen of Hoover, as well as somebody that's in the lodging community, I really do appreciate the two-way communication and the fact that we could work amicably on this. Thank you.
My name is Paul Dangle. I'm the Director of Sales at the Hyatt Regency Winfrey. And just wanted to echo what Matt just shared. Just appreciate the mayor's time and council members who have sat with us several hours over the past week to get to this point. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm the general manager at Candlewood Suites on 280, the other side of Hoover. Sometimes we feel like we get left out, because we're not on this side. I have not been to any of the meetings, did not even know about the meetings, but my hotel services guests that stay 7 nights or longer. So this $2 or $2.50, you're talking $75 more a month for a guest. And you're talking about companies like Southern Company, AT&T, local restaurants that bring in their training teams. They really can't afford that right now. And so I really think a proposal to limit the number of nights. For instance, we refund in this state back all taxes for anyone that stays 180 days. So I currently have 7 guests that have been in my hotel for 180 days or longer. I have somebody who's been there 4 years. So they're gonna get their taxes back.
That rebate is under state statute, is it not?
Yes, it is. So I would like for the long-term guest hotels to be exempt from this. To come up with whether it's 7 days, 10 days. You know, there's numerous hotels. There's 2 on 280, 1 on 150, 1 on Valleydale. That is our business, is long-term. That's what we service, and that's what we sell to. And I really think that it is going to jeopardize our clients and keeping the long-term business in there. So I would really like for you to consider the 4 or 5 hotels that do cater to this type of client.
Any conversation from the council, from the mayor's office?
Yes, Mr. President, I do have a question. Ma'am, in regard to whatever happened this day may or may not be set, are you saying that, for instance, 7 days, that the $2 would apply only after the 7 days, or you say would apply at all? What are your thoughts?
I would say apply for the first 7 days, and then after, or up to the 1 through 6 nights. And then, because that's your transient, that's your leisure guest.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes, and that's your majority of guests that you're gonna have here in Hoover. So from 7 nights on, then they don't pay the $2, but $2.50. You still get it for the first 6 nights, and then after that, it's exempt.
Thank you.
Anything else?
What causes you to bring in the 6-night figure versus the other night?
Our rate tier is set up for the guest that stays 1 to 6 nights. That's the transient. Then we have a tier that's 7 to 14, 15 to 29, 30 plus. So there's a rate differential there. So the longer you stay, the cheaper your rate. So most people that are staying 7 nights, they are coming here for either medical treatment, or they're coming here for a job, or they're being relocated here.
And what would be your opinion to something like 10 nights versus the 6?
I mean, I think that that's doable. I would like to keep it consistent with most of the hotels that do their tiers like that. There's one hotel that starts it on the 6th night, we started on the 7th night, but it would make our accounting job easier to do it on that 7th night.
Computers do everything.
Yeah, they do. They still have to be manned.
Mr. President,
Dr. Middleton.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't catch your name.
Nancy Thomas.
Ms. Thomas. When we did meet with the hotel industry, this was somewhat of a compromise between a flat fee and a 3% increase overall in the lodging tax. How would the 3% affect your business compared to the flat room fee?
Well, when I did the math, the 3% would probably be around $50 based upon, I'm using Southern Company's rate because we have a large portion of our business that comes from them. And the $2.50 is what I figured, that's $75, around 75 to 90 per month.
What are you basing that on? How many nights?
30.
30 nights.
So, you feel that 3%, everything being even, 3% would be less than $2?
Probably so. For my industry, yes.
So what?
But it's not gonna be for the other hotels, the Winfrey.
I'm just trying to think outside the box. If, I guess I'm gonna need some help from the attorneys. If you had someone that stayed 6 nights or less, it would be $2. 7th night going forward, it would be 3%.
Why would we do?
No, it would revert where, on starting 7th night, and I personally wouldn't have a problem if it reverted back to the entire stay. And then all of it goes to 17% total, from 3 to 6% for the city.
If they stay 180 days, they're getting it all back. You're not getting anything if they stay 180 days.
Kick them out for one night.
Well, I don't think I want to do that.
Reference them.
Yeah, Mr. President, it'll be possible we can get some hard numbers on this prior, so we can make an informed decision versus $2 versus 3%. And also, I don't know if logistically we could, we can do a 2 and then go back to a 3%. However, the next one.
That was gonna be the next question.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
And also,
Either Frank or Dr. One of the Lopez houses.
yeah. And when you talk about, you said 180 days, does that apply to tax, or does it apply to the $2? It reimbursed back, or both? What is state law?
well, I would have to look into
Okay.
that because it says, I believe it says taxes.
Okay.
I don't know if it says fees, but
So I would love to kind of have those, have that data prior, because this is based upon 30 days and $2.50 versus $2.
One thing we could do this evening, because if we do that, it's going to create another first reading. If we could find a way to get close enough to put it into tonight's first reading, then if it didn't change, we could vote it on the 10th. If it does change, then it's going to create a new first reading anyway.
Mr. President, can I ask you a question? Mr. Lopez,
Yes.
is there a legal way to separate an extended stay hotel from the model they have.
No.
So it has to be, it would all follow the same ordinance.
Right. The lodging tax rules are set by the state. The city is bound to follow the state rules and regs. 180 days is a set state, not us.
So if we're going to amend it, we're going to amend the ordinance, which we are, it's going to be $2 rate. That applies to everybody. There's no way to separate them legally whatsoever.
It's got to, the basis of taxes, it has to apply to everyone equally.
So
Very
it
good.
can't be an either or.
Yes, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's not that you can't separate the two and make an extended stay ordinance versus a
No, you cannot.
stay.
As long
Very
as it's a
good.
hotel, it's the same.
If that is the case, it would appear that our hands are tied as to options, and then at that point, we're subject to either the up or down vote.
So is the $2.50 or $2, is it a tax or is it a fee?
Oh, I think it depends on who's saying it.
Well, that's gonna determine too, if it can be refunded back to the guest after 180 days.
Well, if that's the case, then we're already abiding by state law, correct, Mr. Lopez?
That's correct.
So at 180 days, it's not an issue.
Okay, so they will get it back.
This is tax right here.
Is
Yes,
it
it says said tax.
Said tax and ordinance, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Well, if we can't. And so, Mr. Lopez, you're saying that there's no way that you can separate extended stay hotels, not to even have that $2.50 after day 7, that it has to be charged?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What I'm saying is you cannot carve out an exemption for one special word. If you're an extended hotel, you can't carve out that exemption separate from the Hyatt House. It's just not,
It's not legal or?
it's not legal. It's not legal.
Any other questions that we might have?
No, that's it, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please come down and give us your name and address.
Good evening, Wade Morgan, 3150 Sawyer Drive. And I've got a question, I may have missed it. The 3% that was originally mentioned, what amount of revenue did that generate versus?
That would have generated about $1.9 million at current figures.
Correct.
As you get more room nights, that would go up, and so would the original 3%.
So going to a $2 fee, we're talking about a $700,000
Gotcha.
difference, correct? Make sure I'm understanding.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, also, as I listen, sounds like the extended stay, that whether it's, we call it a tax or fee, 180 days, all that is refunded to the client regardless.
And that doesn't matter whether it's extended
Correct.
stay or at the winter.
It's correct, that's what I'm saying, 180 days in any hotel,
Yes, sir.
but that seems to be the extended stays. And then, I know that Homewood's lodging rate is 9%, and last time I saw a count, they had the majority by far of hotel rooms in Jefferson County. So I think locally we was,
Homewood,
yeah,
we've got 2,500 just on Highway 150.
maybe some old data that I
Well,
anyway,
now which rate were you comparing, 9%?
they have the local, they raised their local rate to 9% a couple of years ago.
They're still gonna be 3 plus the $2.
Right. My concern is that looking at regions, Huntsville, Nashville, Atlanta, base room rate in all those markets are higher, much higher in some cases than Hoover. So adding a 3% lodging tax would not put us at a competitive disadvantage locally or regionally, because the base room rates regionally are a lot more than they are in Hoover. I see the 3% is very doable. It would meet the budget needs going forward, and I just don't see it being a competitive disadvantage when the base room rates for the other markets are higher than what the base room rates in Hoover are.
Now, industry in these meetings that they've had made a very convincing position that this would put them at a disadvantage when it comes to conventions and such as that, regionally, especially within the southeast. I believe he said that Birmingham, 17.5% is fourth highest in the country, fifth highest, third highest. Memphis is just ahead of them. Nashville is, where's everybody at? But it doesn't matter, but it's based on a higher per night rate as well. What we are trying to do is to keep from charging a higher rate that in effect would really yield fewer tax dollars.
I understand that, but I don't think you're at a competitive disadvantage when you start your bid process for a convention with a lower hotel rate than Nashville or Atlanta or anywhere else. If Hoover's charging $100 for a room and Nashville's charging $129 for a room, even if you go up on the taxes, you're still going to be less total cost than Nashville. That's, I understand the industry wants to look out for their interests, but I think for the city as a whole, you would still be very competitive with since you have a lower base room rate to start, and your taxes would still be less in most cases at 6%.
Ms. Lansbury, being the executive extraordinaire that you are, would you mind coming down and addressing that for us? Since she was the convention person of the year for the state of Alabama.
Mr. President, just for clarification, Homewood's local rate is 9%, the overall rate is 21%.
So,
As an unbiased third party.
as an unbiased third party, I do sit on the State Tourism Advisory Board, so I've been in the meetings, and the agreement for the $2 tax, it is a tax, it is a fee, but it is also a tax. We feel like it'll keep us competitive. Raising the rate, when you look at a group piece of business, whether it's going to Nashville, Atlanta, or where, they look at the lodging tax first. And so we feel like the hotel community feels like that it would keep us competitive at that rate and not raising the lodging tax. Excuse me, 3%.
As a member of the State Tourism Board, can you speak to Mr. Morgan's statement about the fact that they have higher room rates than these other cities, but yet can charge a smaller fee, where he was stating that Hoover has smaller room rates, and thus, I guess, with the additional 3%, assuming still yield a better overall fee than these other cities.
Yes, because if you look at Nashville or Atlanta or Charlotte, the cities that we compete with, the Southeast, we are not Nashville. We don't have everything else that goes along with that. And So, you know, we have to stay competitive the best way we can, and keeping that rate down as we grow. That helps us.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Any
Mr.
other
President,
questions?
before you go, Ms. Lawson, you also are competing with, it's not just the Hoover tax rates, you got county and state aid
That's
too,
correct.
and the county just went up.
That's correct.
So we're trying, all of the people in this industry are fighting those rates as well. So anything that you can do locally helps tourism and brings sales tax dollars along with the United States into your area.
That's correct, and, you know, it generates the economic impact for the community. It's not just the money they're spending in hotels, but the restaurants, the attractions, the venues. So you have to look at the overall dollar spent.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else from the council? A point of clarification that Mr. Murphy has brought to my attention. Even though we haven't had the first reading, do I, as the chair, have the authority to reduce that from 250 to 2 without a vote of the council, since it's prior to the first reading?
At this point, I think it'd be appropriate to have a motion to have a first reading at $2.
All right, very good. Trying to make sure we're keeping everything legal. With that, open for a motion.
So we,
So move what?
to amend ordinance number 18-2394 to state that the hotel motel tax levy would add a $2, not $2.50 per room night fee.
Very good.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the council? This does not require roll call. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. The ayes have it. Now, first reading of ordinance 18-2394, Mr. Corley.
This ordinance amends the municipal code of the city of Hoover to modify the hotel motel tax levy to add a $2 per night room fee. An additional $2 per night.
Second reading and consideration for adoption will be held at our special call meeting Tuesday of next week, July the 10th, here in the chambers at 6 o'clock. Next, we have an ABC application, retail beer on or off premises, retail table wine on or off premises for Golden City, 3000 Meadow Lake Drive, Suite 113, Hoover, Alabama 35242. This is a change in ownership on the previously approved site.
Mr. President, I move to approve the ABC application for Golden City.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the council? Any from the audience? Hearing, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Posey, we got a couple of bills.
Yes, sir, and I thank Mr. Yeager for asking. The one question I have on these, I don't do these often, Mr. Lott is usually here, but I do move for the payment of the bills as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed nay. The ayes have it. Now, questions and comments. First, I would like to announce, and Madam Clerk, you might not even know about this one. Just after the next work session, we're going to have a Hoover 911 committee meeting. We've got a couple of housekeeping issues that we need to deal with when it comes to some policies, I guess. With that, anything else from the council?
Mr. President, former Councilman Patterson asked me if you would give a rundown of the things that will be considered on the July 10th meeting.
Okay. July 10th, we're going to have the first reading of, the second reading and vote on the ordinance that was just held, $2 per night. There's going to be a withdrawal vote for the existing ordinance that had it going to 17%. Adding taking away the exemption for the rental of single-family homes. There will also be a second reading and likely vote to increase the sales tax by half a penny. Trying to see, inoperable is the 16th, and the one on stormwater, was that? 16th. That's on the 16th as well. So those are the items that will be before us. Anything else from the council? Anything from the audience? Come down, give us your name and address. As you come down, I'd like to recognize Mr. John McDonald with SFM. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Mr. President. How are y'all?
Oh, I don't know. We'll find out next week. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Anthony Coleman. I live at 2441 Wineridge Drive. For those that are not familiar with geography, that is in an unincorporated Jefferson County, within the police jurisdiction of the city of Hoover. Under Alabama state law, the police jurisdiction automatically extends 3 miles outside the geography of Hoover because the municipality has a population in excess of 6,000 people. This means that the residents of my subdivision are required by state law to remit sales tax and professional licensing taxes to the city of Hoover for the police jurisdiction. So we will be affected by your proposed tax increase, and we have no choice in the government of the city of Hoover. It is simply taxation without representation, and it is wrong, and it is un-American, but that is not why I'm here. The reason that I'm here is because the city of Hoover actively refuses to provide police coverage to my neighborhood in the police jurisdiction and actively routes 911 calls to the Jefferson County Sheriff, even though we are tax-paying second-class citizens. Further, we do not receive fire coverage from the city of Hoover. We have to pay a fee to the North Shelby County Fire District for the coverage. And I raise this issue because the city of Hoover has been sued before over the police jurisdiction taxes in 1998 or 1999 by a car dealership. And in that opinion, the United States Supreme Court said that the reason for this police jurisdiction is so that the city can provide fire and police coverage to those that live in the halo of the city to avoid the free rider problem. Yet the city of Hoover actively chooses not to provide police and fire coverage to my neighborhood. And so I believe that taxation without representation, without the benefit of a civil society and the benefit of the amenities of the city that is to provide those services to us, simply put, this taxation is theft. And I'm here tonight to ask for your support in my efforts in the legislature to have a new law enacted that would require the cities of Alabama to choose between collecting the tax and the police jurisdiction and allowing the citizens in that jurisdiction to vote. It's the most basic American right to be able to be involved in your choice of government, as all the citizens of Hoover are here tonight. It is insane to me that in this year, in this day and age, in a country founded on, the Tea Party was started, Boston Tea Party was started because King George was taxing our tea. We had no right to vote in Europe. That is still going on today in Hoover and in other cities in the state. And in the interim, I ask that you provide the police coverage and the fire coverage that the Supreme Court says this tax exists for you to provide. And I would like to have Councilman Smith respond.
Well, it's a good argument. You practice law?
I was just admitted to the bar in February.
Okay, I figured you had a good practice. It's not, the council is the executive body for the city of Hoover, not the executive, the legislative body for the city of Hoover.
No law is required for you to give me police coverage.
I know, but operational responsibilities come under that of the mayor. So because of that, I'm gonna ask the mayor.
Mayor, I'd love to hear your response as to why the city of Hoover won't provide the tax-paying second-class citizens fire and police coverage.
Are we charging tax to wineries?
Yes, I've actually written a letter a certified mail letter asking for the records to show what those revenues are. I've not yet received a response. This is the second one I've written. I wrote one in December and then one recently after the tax increase was proposed. And I haven't received a response to that, but I have called the records custodian in the finance department and verbally confirmed that you are collecting the tax. Further, I've also confirmed this through the Avalera tax system. Taxes are being remitted to the city of Hoover from the police jurisdiction at half the city rate though.
Is this property tax?
This is the sales tax, and it didn't used to be a problem. For years, this wasn't a problem until Amazon and Wayfair.
What sale, y'all don't have, I'm not aware of any business.
Any online sales tax is collected and remitted if the company has nexus with the city of Hoover. And under the Wayfair decision and the simplified use tax, you guys still get a cut of those taxes even if they aren't remitted at the full rate. So simply put, I'm paying the tax. I'll be happy to provide you with a detailed receipt.
Well, if you don't mind, when I'm having so much fun. Yeah, we're gonna let Mr. Lopez speak in just a minute, but being as familiar as you are with the internet taxing system, you also understand that those taxes that are charged and remitted via the state are distributed by population and not by zip code.
Well, so that's the problem, is that most online places collect tax by zip code because in the overwhelming majority of the country, the city limits line up with the police jurisdiction. A lot of companies like Capstar and Avalera, I develop software, e-commerce software if you can't tell, but a lot of those companies don't have rooftop resolution. And so what happens is at best, I will end up paying the 8% simplified tax or the 9 or 10% local Hoover tax instead of the 7.5% tax that ADOR says I should pay. Even if under the simplified tax system, taxes are collected in the police jurisdiction and appropriated by population, that simply means I'm still paying, although a simplified rate, I'm still paying a tax to the city of Hoover for the police jurisdiction where I don't get police coverage. So why is it called a police jurisdiction if the police don't go there?
Well, for one, I'm just answering because I'm having class.
Well, under the simplified use tax, I actually pay a higher tax to the state at 8% instead of 7.5.
But this deals with state law.
I've written every one of the legislatures that are in office today about this, and I wrote Javo Wagner about it last night. I'm pursuing active efforts in the legislature to get me the ability and the other citizens the right to vote in the election should we pay taxes. However, I'm here tonight because the benefit that those taxes are supposed to pay for isn't being conveyed to me by the city of Hoover. I have neighbors that have called 911 and have actively been told, oh, you're in the Jefferson County Sheriff's police jurisdiction, which is not what the state law says. City of Hoover 911 is actively deflecting their responsibilities according to the United States Supreme Court.
Posey, would you like to share?
Yes, sir. Before you go away.
Mr. XO, you can come down while Mr. Posey.
Has your neighborhood actively sought to annex into the system?
I don't want to live in the city. I chose to live in the unincorporated area of Jefferson County. It was a shock to me that I was living in the police jurisdiction.
Real quick, are you sure you're not talking about police power versus police jurisdiction? That's two different things.
The state law gives us the 3-mile radius jurisdiction for us to enforce the law beyond our city limits. However, the call for service does not allow us to do anything outside the city limits. It is not our police jurisdiction. So when you call 911 and you are not within the city of Hoover, they're going to send you to the jurisdiction that you are responsible for your call for service. We have to, the 3-mile radius, if our officers stop a violator outside the city limit, the state law gives us the 3-mile radius for us to send them, cite them, and take them to our court system. That's the 3-mile radius.
So, the point of order, my understanding of Officer Aldaka's position is that the police jurisdiction is the police jurisdiction when when they want to raise revenue by fining people or ticketing them when they're traveling outside the city. But for the rest of the time, the police jurisdiction isn't the police jurisdiction. This is not the way other cities conduct business in police jurisdiction. This is not the way that the United States Supreme Court stated the taxes to be used for the free ride or halo effect. But the case law is very clear on this.
Mr. President.
Chief Bentley, let's let Chief Bentley speak, and then we're gonna take this to an end.
For the record, we are not required to provide fire protection services outside the city limits. Okay? And you are not paying taxes to the fire department for fire services. You've chosen to live in the county, and you subscribe by law to North Shelby Fire Department. That is law, that you pay fire dues to North Shelby for fire protection. We have an automatic aid agreement with North Shelby, so every time North Shelby goes to your home for a fire, we also go automatically. So you are required, and there's no way that you can get out of paying North Shelby the funding for fire services, and that is law. So,
You're finished, sir. Mr.
Respect,
Singer.
I'm a licensed attorney, I know law better than fire.
I know, I understand that. And my son-in-law, who's a pharmacist, he said, you know what they call the guy who graduates last in his class? I said, what? He said, doctor. Mr. Singer.
Arnold Singer, 613 Riverhead Place. With regard to the out-of-state, ordering over the internet for delivery from out-of-state to your home, if you're in a unincorporated Jefferson County or unincorporated Shelby County, they get that sales tax revenue, not the city of Hoover.
Hopefully we'll fix this around. All right, anything else from the audience? Anything new? Anything from the council or the mayor?
Yes, Mr. President.
Oh, yes, sir.
The, City Hall will be closed Wednesday, Mayor.
Mr. President, possibly the most compelling issue of tonight, garbage collection in Hoover is amended this week. There will be no garbage collection on Wednesday. Wednesday's service will be collected on Thursday, Thursday's service on Friday, and Friday's service on Saturday. There's no garbage collected on, well, it's refuse, waste, cycling, yes. So everybody that serves on today or Tuesday, status quo. Wednesday, no collection. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, roll it back a day.
Forms will be hot.
Sir?
Forms will be hot.
Forms have been informed, and we expect calls to,
And, we'll have your cell phone out there.
you got another trade.
Mr. President.
We got another gentleman, yes, sir. If you wanna come on down, Dr. Middlebrooks, and then we'll have this gentleman.
I just wanted to comment to this gentleman here. I respect you coming before this body, and my apologies if you feel disparaged in any way. But as Council President Smith alluded to, we're the legislative body, and this simply isn't the time and place to conduct that business. The organizational body, the mayor's office, is who you need to speak to. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are you open to general comment question about the sales tax?
Yes, sir. Just name and address.
My name's Charles Miles, 203 Running Brook Road. Grew up in Huntsville. I've been in Jefferson County 45 years. Most people call me Charlie. Love Hoover. Have lived in Irondale, Homewood, Birmingham, Mountain Brook. Love Hoover. Been here 20 years, intend to stay. If you're a student of economics at all or remember history, the late Congressman Jack Kent spoke frequently about taxation. And sales tax is the most regressive form of tax there is. It hurts poor people the worst. Now, I wouldn't come to you and make comments that could be taken as negative. I've never been to a council meeting before, and I apologize for that. Mr. Mayor and distinguished council, incredible job. Just really, really thrilled with what you do. But I think there could be an alternative. And you may throw me into a corner with some other people, but there's possible another tax solution I think could work.
Walmart tax?
Plastic bags. You're the thinker out of the box now. many plastic bags are used in the United States every year? I've heard estimates as high as 700 billion.
Little bit.
How many are used at Hoover every year? An indirect tax, such as a tax on plastic bags, 1 mil per thousand. We could call up one of our supermarkets at Hoover and say, how many plastic bags do you go through in a week? The number would stagger you. And the cost to them would be indirect as a tax. It might be a decreasing tax because they would quickly encourage more of their customers to buy the permanent bags, the cloth bags. The state of California has outlawed plastic bags completely. They're not smart enough to think they could be taxed out of use. But I think the stores would get the message pretty quickly and the numbers of these things would decrease while they could represent a huge revenue base. I have no idea what the numbers would be. Somebody'd have to do some work. A little bit of research with a real big calculator. So,
Still have about 600,000 that we need to fill what was on the hotels, so, maybe we'll get with Mr. Lopez and see what our options are.
by the way, I did not get the idea from Mary Lane.
Mr. Langley's still in prison.
But it is out of the box, and I've thought about it for several years. I thought about taking the legislature, but my state representative was indicted. I thought about taking one to tell us, and I thought, no, I'll leave it to Thank you.
We appreciate your thoughts. That is truly thinking out of the box. Anything else from the audience? We're adjourned.